Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aqilah binti Muhammad Halimi. My metric number is 120160. And as of today, I'm going to present to you my final project last semester. But before we went into the details of my design, let me just explain to you briefly the requirements of this very own project. So the name of this project was called Individual Mobile Design Studio Pod, or also known as Individual Design Studio Pod. The main aim of this project is to raise the students' understanding of the human body and its interaction, as well as to investigate the role of logic and reasoning in shaping a form, anything. In my personal opinion, this project is rather interesting because it's not like every day we are obliged to design something for the sake of a human, for us, if I may. So what we have to do here is properly design the shape of my studio pod, of our studio pod, ergonomically that suits the proportion of a human body. This project required us to construct a small space for the students to be in, and that could be used continuously for 24 hours. And one condition, it must only be used of single occupancy or maximum of 2. So a studio pod that could be used for 24 hours daily. How crazy is that? I mean, no offense, but this actually where the hard part comes in, because we are needed to reconsider many things, as well as to investigate any possible events and related rituals objectively. So the keyword here is that we need to pay close attention to the body dimensions and also cultivate an understanding of anthropometric spaces, and as well as human behavior and room. So maybe we have to put ourselves in their shoes and imagine that we are in a confined spaces where we can sit, we can reach out for something, we can study, we can draft things, we can maybe even lying down or interacting with the lecturers during the crit session, or maybe have a chit chat with our friends. These activities actually varies with each person design because it's actually up to us what we want to do when we're inside our studio pod. The challenge here is that we need to put into consideration of every measurement there is. So this is really important. Some of the designers, they didn't even take this seriously. Okay, maybe that's too hard, scratch that. I mean, some of the designers, they didn't even think thoroughly before shaping a form they want to build. Okay, I say some, not all. Some of them are really good, but some of them, yeah, like I said, they didn't even think straight. So maybe they want to build something like bulky, rectangular, irregular kind of shape. So the question here would be, what is the functionality of that space? Do they have a meaning? Is there will be a negative space? Everything, and I do mean everything, needs to be reconsidered. Because we, as the designers, are so into the details that we somehow forget about the smallest things. We are so focused on beautify our design, but we didn't even reconsider of how the bads and the goods that the form brings out. So This one right here is my board. Okay, but first, I know you guys are really great at English and you guys can read it loud and clear, but let me just recap first and explain everything how I got the design one by one. Okay? First, we start off with the issue. My issue is concentration. Okay, as a student, I was told that concentration is a very common problem for every student worldwide, but I thought, why not minimize it? So I put this on my issue because, you know, I am the kind of person that is unable to work on a single task and is easily disturbed by noises. Even people laughing can make me feel distracted, can make me distracted sometimes. So what I really need is a peaceful and serene place to study. For the concept, I was thinking of making it related somehow to the main issue I've just stated before. So I chose the word ataraxy. Okay, yeah, I know ataraxy is really weird and very uncommon. People even rarely use it, but I was looking for a synonym word for serenity and I looked it up on thesaurus and I found the word ataraxy. Ataraxy actually means a state of serene calmness. You might want to, search it up and Google it if you don't know what it means or you want something more deeper meaning about it. But ataraxy really means serenity. Okay, that's all you need to know. So serenity is related to the issue I just stated before because I need a peaceful and serene place to study. That is why serenity is related. And so I think that is why I chose the word ataraxy for my concept. Okay, so for my NACLI study, I was actually thinking of coming up with a NACLI study so that it can help strengthen more my concept and issue just now. And that is when I came across Surah Al-Ra'd, ayah 28. So before we go any further, I want to read the translation first so you guys can understand a little bit of the meaning. Okay, so the meaning is, "Verily lie in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest." This verse makes me reminisce the old time. And I find that what makes me feel most at home is that when I'm surrounded by nature. This one time I was deeply distraught that I can't remember other reasons why, but maybe it was shown all over my face, so that my sisters came up to me and said, "Why don't we go to the beach this evening?" I didn't think of anything that moment, so I straight away said yes. So we went there in the evening, and the texture of the sand, the sounds of the birds chirping, the crashing sound of the waves, it makes me feel at ease. So from this experience, I thought that why don't I relate my experience to my ideation, because it's actually connected to the NACLI study just now. Why did I say it is connected somehow to the NACLI study? Because in the verse it said that "Verily in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest." So what makes me feel most at home is when I'm thinking about the nature. The nature is one of the God's creation So that is when I thought, why can't I put natural elements as my ideation to the design? Out of the 12 natural elements that I know of, I was actually decided to use water as my ideation. And that is when my crazy ideas started to kick in, and that is also the initial of my design. Okay, so the next one is about my ideation. Okay, so from my knuckle study just now, I said that I want to use natural elements as my ideation, and that is how I came up with water. So I made a little research about water, and I looked it up online. But to my surprise, there are too many topics about water. You know, the topics about water is very vast. There is the chemical properties of water, how water can form from one matter to another, and the characteristics of water, and many more. I didn't have the strength to look into every piece of the web and the page. So I think I'm going to stick with the characteristics of water, since I may have an idea of how I can derive the characteristics of the water into my design. So these are the 3 characteristics of water that I chose, and to me it's really important. Okay, so the first one is flexibility. Okay, we all know that water is so flexible that it has no fixed form. I mean, if you put it in a bucket, it will shape like a bucket. If you put it in a glass, it will shape like a glass. So water can be anything. Can be out of any shape. And then there's fluidity. So I don't want my studio pot to be basic rectangular kind of shape. So I was thinking of making it more flexible, have a little curves up and there to make it more unique. And the third one is artistic, because water can form from one shape to another. So maybe if you put it in certain temperature and conditions, it will change the form from water to gas, from gas to water back, from water to ice, So it can be a lot of things. Water is very fast. Okay, so the next one will be my design process. Okay, so my design process is actually rather basic. So I didn't think any of you guys have, problems in understanding what I draw down here, but I'm still gonna explain it to you. Okay, so I start off with sketching some rectangular shape, because I want my studio pot to be at its maximum height and maximum width, and so that the person in there, which is me, will not be, tightened inside of it. Didn't feel like it's too small in there. I want her to feel spacious. I want me to feel spacious. Okay. So the first step I'll do is that I'll take the upper part of my studio pot and then I'll make it flowy. And then I take every plan of the rectangular shape, so that it is also flowy and curvy, and that is flexible and shows fluidity. And when people take one look at it, people know that it is from water. So there be no misunderstanding about how I form my studio pot. Okay, beside my design process is actually my precedent study, but I think it's too small and I think you guys can see it clearly, so I'm gonna zoom it out for you. Okay, so these are the 3 pictures of my precedent study. It is actually 2 different kind of buildings because if you guys notice, the first and the second picture are actually from the same building. I just chose different pictures from different angles to show the textures of it, you know. Okay, so the first and the second one is from Berlin, Germany. The building is called JOH3, a residential building from May H Architects. And the third picture is actually pavilion. It is an exhibition pavilion from Argentina. Its architect is Associated Architects Beyond Borders, or also known as AABB. So let's move on to the next part. But I didn't think you guys can see the dimension, so let me just zoom first. This is my ground floor plan. Okay, so ground floor plan is very essential in architecture drawings because it is the start of every drawings there will be. You know, because if you guys can't draw the perfect floor plan, how can you guys get the elevations and the sections from it? The dimensions will be wrong. There will be mad calculations everywhere. So what you guys need is probably draw the floor plan before you carry it away with the elevations and the sections. So the floor plan is actually the upper view of the studio board, and from there you can see everything inside, everything that kept inside that people from the outside can't see. Okay, so there's the drafting table. Okay, so the drafting table is actually compulsory in this project because tell me, which architecture students that didn't make use of the drafting table? None, right? And for the chair, I made it adjustable because, you know, I like to move around a lot, so I didn't like to be placed into one fixed spot. I want to move around, so that's why I made it adjustable. And at the side, there's this small table I designed from the facade itself, you know, because it is continuously, you know, I want to show the continuity of my facade into my design. So the table is actually also derived from the parametric design to show the movement of the water and at the same time be a table. So the table is where I can put my food whenever I got hungry, put my laptop whenever I fully utilize the drafting table, you know, because AO and A1 is already big enough and I didn't have any space to put my laptop. So that's why I put the table at the side. And there's also these shelves. I actually have 2 shelves. One is the upper shelves and one is the lower shelves. The lower shelves is where I put my shoes and the upper shelves is where I arrange my books. And there is also this hanging area where I can hang my clothes or even my T-square whenever I didn't use them. What I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to fully make use of every spaces there is. It's not like I don't like vacancies. I do. It makes your studio pod looks more spacious. But I remember Madam Elena's advice to me that the good design is the design that fulfills your needs. So if you go to other students' designs, that means that your studio pod is lacking something and that it didn't provide you with proper functionalities. This is my front and rear elevation of my studio pod. Okay, so my front elevation is where I'm actually studying and where is my drafting table is located. So yeah, there'll be a huge opening in front of me so that I can see the outside. And my rear elevation is where my door is located, so I can just come in. It's not actually a door, it's also an opening. There'll be no keys whatsoever, so people just can come and go without any problems. You don't have to worry about missing your key or something because it's actually an opening. Okay, so I used the maximum height and maximum width of this project, which is 1.8 meters for the height and 1.5 meters for the width. So it is a fixed measurement that Madam has given us in the project brief, but I didn't think I mentioned it to you earlier, so I'm just gonna mention it now. So if you guys can see from the front elevation, I have put details measurement for the height of the opening because I actually measured my own height. So when I sit down, my knee didn't get stuck under the drafting table, and I can also see outside, so that my opening really have its function. I want to avoid that kind of situation that I'm not comfortable with. That's why I thoroughly measure my own height when I sit down, when I stand, everything. And if you guys can see from the rear elevation, I actually put 40 centimeters wall for the left and for the side of it, for the left and the right at the side of the opening, because I want it to be at the center, because I actually put shelves at the sides. So this one is my left and right elevation. Okay, so it's nothing much actually. I just want to show that the upper part is the flowy one, and the right elevation I actually put tinted glasses so that people from the outside can't see me, but I can see them. I want privacy on my own. And this is my third board. You guys can see how it looks from the outside, how it looks from the inside, how people can move inside of it, because there's the section, the thickness of the materials I'm going to use for the walls, everything. So there are two sections inside the board, which is section AA and section BB. Section AA is actually from the right elevation, where you can see me studying. And I also show you the movement of the drafting table, how I want to keep it if I didn't want to use it anymore. And you can also see the upper shelves and the lower shelves that I've mentioned before. Section BB is from another point of view. I put a mark on the floor plan so you guys can just refer back if you guys didn't understand. So the section BB is actually, you can see how I am sitting there and are watching outside. So before I conclude this presentation, I just want to show you how my actual model looks like, my final model, so you guys can see a better view from that. In the nutshell, you guys shouldn't be afraid of designing, because I know designing is hard, but it's actually easier when you actually listen to the lecturers' advices and critics before you amend your shape, your form of your design. Because there must be at some certain point that you guys feel like you're at your lowest. Trust me, I've been there. I've been rejected so many times. There's this, my mock-up model. It is a big time fail. It is totally rejected by Madam Elina and Sir Fadli. But I didn't blame them though. I appreciated their critics, and I really like how I improved every time there's the crit Crate session is very important because from the crate you guys can know where you are, where your weaknesses are. And so I think that's that. Thank you for listening.